back to Surviving Divorce at 3 a.m. I'm Christy Bridges, and with me tonight, I have someone who is close to my heart. This is Marty Staley. Marty Staley is my brother-in-law, and we have been together as part of this family for 25 years, and I'm grateful for him. Marty, thank you so much for agreeing to be part of this.
Thank you.
It blesses me to tears pretty much just to see where you are today, because you have always had such an amazing heart, but you've been through some really tough stuff. And God has just proven his ability to transform lives through your testimony. So you and I have talked about how, statistically, about half of marriages end in divorce, but 60 to 70% of second marriages end in divorce. And that's because we don't deal with our stuff before we jump ship and try to find someone else to fill that gap, right?
Mm-hmm.
You went through that yourself. So, how do you think your first marriage influenced your second marriage?
I think that my first marriage, when that ended, I obviously that was a we were young when we got married. We were in love. We thought we knew what we were doing, and things
Mhm.
didn't work out. And there was a lot of heart break. There was a lot of love loss. There was a lot of stuff going on there that, like you said, I really didn't deal with even as it was ending and even after it ended. And so I feel like my second marriage was just kind of really a way to try to force myself to move on from
Mm.
that first marriage. And so, I ended up in a marriage that was where we were, in my opinion, unequally yoked. We really didn't match spiritually. We really didn't match in a lot of other ways as well. And so it was kind of a forced thing that, uh, didn't, wasn't well thought out. I'll
Yeah.
say that.
I remember when you first started that second marriage, you both had a lot of fun together, but it was kind of
Yeah.
a reckless fun,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, absolutely.
Eh,
Yeah.
I have to say, I kind of did the same thing in
Mhm.
my second marriage. I found someone that I think I almost didn't expect it to work out, right? Because I had lost so much trust the first time around, so much trust in marriage lasting. But the
Mm.
second time around, I just went to someone that I could enjoy for however long. Do you
Yeah.
feel like you did that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I don't think I really put a lot of thought into was this actually going to work out long term, or I think I
Yeah.
thought, like you said, it was reckless fun. We were having a good time, and I just kind of went with it because I'd been through so much, previously that was just one of those things.
Yeah. So thankfully, my marriage to your brother and belonging to your family lasted
Yeah,
by miracle of God. But
yeah.
in your case, you didn't have that kind of luck. Now, you tell about how that ended and where it took you in the 3 a.m. book, When Divorce Keeps You Up All Night.
Yeah.
But can you just take us forward to the moment where you realized, it's all over. You've kind of continued to go downhill, and now you realize that you need to make a change. Where, what was that like at that time?
What do you mean, like needing to make a change as far as once?
The beginning of this turnaround here that we're looking at today and
Yeah.
what God has done, you had gotten, and I won't recite the whole story that's in the book, but you had gone to a pretty dark place.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, absolutely. So by the time that second marriage had ended, I was going through a lot of even greater things
Yeah.
than that, divorce or separation and divorce eventually. My mother was sick and dying basically, and my stepdad had just recently passed away,
Yeah.
and so there was a lot of things kind of piling up on me, and unfortunately, the that second marriage was also kind of really centered around alcohol
Mm,
use. And so I kind of that had picked up and kind of gotten worse and worse, and more,
yeah.
had increased and intensified. And so by the time the marriage had ended, and my mother had passed away and everything, I really had just sunk even further into that alcohol addiction, and which left me pretty with a severe problem.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
so
And I wonder sometimes how much is us trying to fix a pain and how much of it, addiction is just us trying to get life over with. And
yeah.
I felt like um, you had dealt with so much anger and you had dealt with so much pressure. And then you reached this point where you were just day by daying it, but you resisted going to treatment. Um, when you're in a place where you've gotten, life is just that hopeless feeling, what would make someone resist going to treatment?
Um, I resisted going to treatment because I just didn't, one, I didn't really know for a while what to do or how to go about doing it.
Yeah.
And two, I just, I thought the you know the time that it would take, that I felt like it would take, just seemed, like undoable almost, like that's like it was just too big of a feat,
Hmm.
to take on. And I don't, you know, you mentioned something a minute ago that I wanted to add also about, um, like where I was with my with addiction was that during the second marriage, when we were, everything was kind of centered around fun, and
Hmm.
alcohol was involved in everything, but it was all kind of fun. But as everything started to fall apart, there was so much anxiety going on within me that it became, a suppressant for that. And so
Yeah.
so the that's where the real addiction became, uh, real strong, because I was really just trying to mask the pain, mask what was going on, the anxiety of everything that was happening, and that's where it, really got worse. And so yeah, I did, resist the you know the desire to get help, because I just didn't know how to go about doing it for a while.
Okay, so you've mentioned anxiety, and I'm going to spend a moment on that. I think a
Mhm.
lot of people feel that um, because not because we're, I know in my life, I don't always feel anxious because I'm afraid of losing something. I feel anxious because I'm afraid of not being good enough to take care of everything. What was your anxiety rooted in? Was it that kind of thing, or what was going on there?
No, I think that for me, my anxiety was kind of just rooted in just this, not the unknown, the fear of the unknown, the things being out of control and not being able to control them, and
Yes.
not knowing, just not knowing at all what to do or how to do it. And unfortunately, I wasn't. where I needed to be with God spiritually. And so I wasn't, instead of, I mean, now I look back and it's obvious, like that's where you turn to God, you know,
Right?
it's kind of, but I did everything but, I was turning to alcohol to try to suppress that anxiety and keep it all down. And that obviously wasn't working. It just really made it worse. And so it just made the alcohol consumption more and more,
Mhm.
which just spirals,
It spirals. And I
And
will say, a lot of people don't turn to God when they're hurting because at some point in the beginning of the process, in the beginning of the landslide, we say, Lord, help. And we're not necessarily at a place of awareness then, or a place of, where we've realized, we're when a landslide happens, right? All the rocks fall down and you see the bones of the mountain. And I
Mhm.
think sometimes we need some stuff to fall down so that we can see the bones, the underlying problems. And when we first ask for help and it doesn't come the way we expect it to, we're hesitant later when things are really bad and we really need to turn to God. We're hesitant then to turn to God
Mhm.
and get his help from there. But you did.
Yeah.
You went to treatment, and it wasn't going to be a 30-day process. It was going to
Mhm.
be longer. How did you make it through that?
Well, uh, yeah, it was a lot longer process, and for me, it was really tough. I began the process, and once I was in it, I was committed, to that process, because I wanted to, you know, first I wanted to at that point give God my best because I needed His best, and I knew I was, you know, I wasn't going to get that unless I was committed, and so. Uh, but it was not easy. It was hard, and there were many nights that I almost every night really sometimes that I laid awake and I thought to myself, like what is the one thing that happened today that was good? What is the one thing that I can think on, that I can lay here and think about, that made this day worthwhile? And because there's so many negative things that we can think about, especially when you're going through a process of rebuilding or trying to regain control of your life. There's so many negative things that you can think about that can just defeat you if you let it. And so, if you have one good thing, that you can think about to get you through that day, to get you to the next day, and so on and so on, then that's how I did that.
Mm. And you made it. You made it to the end, but you're still there, Marty. What's going on?
Well, in that process, I discovered that I have a passion for people who are in a struggle like I was in, and so I just decided that there might be something to this. I always felt that God had a call on my life for ministry, and so I felt like God was just pulling me in this direction to try to help other people that were going through the same thing that I was going through, and just try to encourage them that they can do it too. If I can do it, you can do it. And if God can do what He's done in my life, He's no respecter of person, so do it for somebody else too. And so I
Mm.
just I stuck around and started getting different credentials with the Missouri Credentialing Board, and in substance abuse and recovery. And I just you know did an extended internship, so to speak, and then the things God laid things where I eventually got uh, recommended for a staff position, and so I've been on staff now for about 4 years.
I love it. I
Yeah,
love that so much. We comfort with the comfort we've been given. And
yeah,
now God
yeah,
has given you a new comfort. We have a few more seconds. Tell us what is
yeah.
happening. Why are we pre recording this, Marty?
Well, we're pre-recording this because I'm not going to be able to do it live on September 9th because I will be getting married. Yeah. So new sister-in-law coming, right? and
And she likes to hike like I do.
she loves to hike. That's yeah, that's something that we both share a passion for, and so we're really excited. And
Praise God. And she loves God. I'm so glad.
she does. She loves the Lord. So
Thank you for being with us today, Marty.
no
God
problem.
bless
Thank
you, and
you.
we will miss you on
Yeah.
September 9th. We'll see you
Amen.
later.
Thank you.